it's Bubbling Moon back again, and I'm ready to talk more LoliRock. Be sure to like or subscribe or something. Anyways, episode 2 Flower Power. I've gotta say, out of all of the LoliRock episodes, this one probably stuck with me the best, and I honestly couldn't tell you why. I actually thought that it was much later in the first season that this episode would be coming up, but it's the second episode in the entire series. We're starting the episode out with Iris and Talia. They're practicing getting ready for a performance later in the day at the flower festival. And Ariana's doing whatever she's doing here. And then Iris introduces us to a flower she's been growing with magic, and this thing is a monstrosity, and I love it. It's a 2-foot wide rose that whimpers like a dog and basically acts like a golden retriever and has crystal spikes growing off of it. How can you not love this thing? Talia correctly points out that magic should not be used for selfish goals. However, Iris also correctly points out that defeating Missy is the best thing that could happen ever. We then cut to Ephedia, where Greymore is sitting in Twilight Sparkle's crystal castle, telling Mephisto and Praxina about how important this particular oracle gem is. But we never ever get told why it's important. There are no specific repercussions for this particular gem being found, and it's only the second one that they're collecting, so I really don't know what the deal is with this. Then we transition back to the flower festival where Iris is being a pretty irresponsible pet owner. Like, her plant can hop around, move, and make vocalizations. I don't think just putting it on a leash is a good enough precaution for just leaving it in the middle of this strange place. And this is the scene where we are introduced to Missy, who is essentially just the Mandy character from Totally Spies. She even has the two little entourage girls behind her. Missy and Iris get into a short little argument about which one of their plants is better, and they sound like two pageant moms arguing about which one of their toddler looks the most like a 30-year-old. Then the girls decide that they need to start setting up for the show. They do a little magic just out in the open for anyone to see. Like, I don't really want them to limit how they use their magic because that's kind of the whole point of the show is they're magical girls. But they really aren't even trying to hide it. They do magic out in the open constantly in this show. And either nobody notices or everybody's just super chill about it constantly. Like, oh yeah, those girls can do magic, whatever, that's not gonna pay my bills. But then it's time for the plot of the show to happen. So the girls take a running jump off of the stage in a fashion that is way too dramatic. The first person Iris runs across is Missy, who is actually crying because her plant got stolen. And Iris is very reluctant to help, but begrudgingly will anyway because she needs that oracle gem. But thank God, after a little flirting with Nathaniel, she finds out the person who actually needs her help is this little crying girl in the greenhouse. And of course, Rosie catches the blame for the disappearing plants because she's the only plant that could feasibly drag another plant off. So Iris takes Rosie to a lake and she's about to give her the old Yeller treatment, but then the monster of the week shows up. Mephisto and Praxina captured this little creature from Ephedia and they put a collar on it to make it much more vicious and bigger. But if they were trying to steal things sneakily, I think they should have kept it smaller. And also, why couldn't they just steal the flowers themselves? But the monster makes off with Rosie and Iris's necklace, and that last point is barely even worth mentioning. But the fight happens, Iris does some maneuvers in her gravity-defying dress, she gets her necklace back, they do a crystal love struck, the day is saved, and the plants all get returned. Iris returns the orchid to the little crying girl, and the oracle gem falls out of it. Iris is like, finders keepers, kid, and the kid's like, I didn't want that trash rock anyway. So the day is saved. The little girl wins with her orchid, and we close out the show with one of my least favorite LoliRock songs, Revolution. It's the worst song they have. Fight me. A couple points of interest about this episode. How in the world did Iris not win this competition? She grew a giant rose with crystal shards growing in it. I mean, that might be less impressive to us because we know she grew it with magic, but the judges don't know that. They should be trying to send her to like a botanist college or something. Also, I love Rosie. Yes, the name sucks, and I would throw more shade at that, but that's the exact same naming convention I use on things, so I don't want to be too big of a hypocrite. But Rosie is amazing. I mean, Iris basically grew herself a golden retriever, and then we just never see it again. You can't just abandon your pet like that. She's a sentient plant. Who else is gonna take care of her? I can't remember if she comes back in later episodes, but I don't think she does. I do think, however, it would have been funny if Iris had planted her outside and she was kind of a watchdog against Mephisto and Praxina. Another little thing is Amaru. I haven't mentioned him before, but he's their little koala cat dog thing. And he turns into a Pegasus and he summons a magic fighting ring for them. And I like this magic fighting ring because it is visually interesting and it also makes things easier on the animators for fight scenes. But I would like to know exactly where Amaru came from. Like, how did Talia and Ariana find him? Is he normally just a Pegasus, or does he just transform into a Pegasus? How does he summon the fighting arena for them? Amaru's cute, but he just seems very powerful, and I can't remember ever getting an explanation of who he is or why he chose to align himself with the girls. Also, I really don't like how anime looking his eyes get when he's in Pegasus form. And then we're on to episode 3, Be Mine, which I call Iris Gets Weird. So, the whole thing about this episode is Iris gets hit with a love spell, and I'm actually not wild about this episode just because Iris turns into such an airhead with this love spell. I think it would have been more interesting if she were more in her right mind, but she was also just in love with this new guy. I think that could have caused enough chaos in her life. And there's actually not too much to talk about in this episode as far as I'm concerned. We do get some funny moments when Nathaniel is just so unspeakably put off by Iris not returning his affections. They're practically dating at this point. It's kind of frustrating that they're not. There's a running joke about Iris just absolutely not knowing anything about this guy. She doesn't know his name, she can't remember his eye color. And I'm really just living for Talia in this episode because every time Iris is like, "Isn't he handsome? Do you want to hear the love poem I wrote?" Ariana's just like, "Yes." And Talia's like, "No." The biggest point of interest for me about this episode, though, is toward the end, Mephisto gets hit by a love spell. And now he thinks that he's in love with Iris. But the thing is, just getting rid of the monster isn't enough to break this love spell. It has to be true love's kiss. And the rando who Iris falls in love with gets his spell broken, Iris gets her spell broken, but Mephisto never gets his spell broken. So, for the rest of this series, it is my personal headcanon that Mephisto is secretly in love with Iris and realizes the best help he could possibly be to her is to just quietly sabotage Greymore with his incompetence. We also get a rare shot of Praxina actually being a good sister and trying to protect Mephisto. Also, Iris and Nathaniel kiss in this, and then they just don't talk about it again. Just start going out, you two. Ugh, I can already feel myself getting frustrated by this. And then we end the show with Revolution again. Man, after this episode, it really should have been We Are Magic. So that was episode 2 and 3. Thank you all so much for watching. If you've got a suggestion for a show that I should look at or a video you'd like to see, leave it down in the comments. Like or subscribe, you can only pick one. And that's it for me. Peace out.